Hello viewers, here is a Holmes 2Cool HAOF. This is a model HAOF612, made in January of 2004. And this does run, however there's some problem with the blades. The smaller of the two blade appears to be just spinning on the shaft, so I've not been able to get this a good test yet, so we're going to have to service and repair it first. So let's begin by removing the guard. This is one of those screws on it. There's a nut and bolt down there at the bottom. Okay, with that removed, oh, that almost fell. Okay, with that removed, we should be able to get the guard off a little bit easier now. Okay, there's that, and it's definitely pretty dirty. Now let's see what the problem is here. So this is just spinning. It looks like the first blade is supposed to sit in the second blade, if you will. But it has to go back more like that, and this is not. So I suspect this just needs to be screwed on more. Nope, that's not screwing on anymore. That is at the end of its threads. This looks like it has about maybe a little less than half an inch of threads. I don't think it felt like it was at the end, but I don't think it was. I think there's like a little metallic shard in there. I don't know, those first threads there. Let's see if I can get that out, and then we'll try again. Actually, you know what it looks like? It looks like there might have at some point been a piece on here, probably like a cylindrical piece that came out, and then somehow it wore down over time, because there's a powder here which is not like a regular household dust. It's like a plastic kind of material. I wonder if that's what happened. I'm not convinced that this is screwing on as far as the threads go. Oh, there we go. Now it's going a little further. It's still extremely tight. Hard to turn. But there we go. That's on all the way now. Well, most of the way. It's still a hair loose. Okay, I think that will work now. No, it's still coming loose. got about... There's something wrong with the shaft. It's not quite going all the way down. It definitely looks like there's something worn off of here. Like a ring right there around the edge. Probably could replace that with some hot glue. That was the metallic piece I saw in there. With that out, let's see if it threads any easier. There we go, much better. Okay, so now that's a firm ending right there, but it's still got about maybe 1/8 of an inch or so of play, which is going to be a problem. So I think what I'm going to do to fix that, I could do one of two things. I could put some washers here. This is probably a 5/8 shaft. Let's see if I have any washers on hand. I do have a washer here, but it's too, opening is too small. Potentially I could use, let's see here. That's too big. I'm going to search around for a washer and see what I can come up with. I found these washers. These are lock washers, which I wasn't really looking for, but I think that would be okay. Okay, it seems to be running all right now. Shakes very badly. I was going to have to get balanced, but other than that, I think it's okay. So it should be a fairly routine clean and service from this point out. That was the only thing that really needed a repair per se. You know, I don't like this being a lock washer. I think I'm going to bend it back to just to be a regular washer. Maybe creating a little bit of discrepancy as far as the way the blade is sitting on the shaft. There we go, now it's a normal washer. I don't know if that'll make any difference, but let's see. And actually the rest of this remaining material should be filed off of here so that it sits flat up against the blade. Or I guess the washer is what it's going to be really sitting up against. No, it's still shaking. It actually doesn't feel all that out of balance. Alright, let's proceed with the disassembly here. don't think I can. Actually, this is not really going to come off. I bet I can power it up just like that. Yeah, it moves more air like that. Oh well. It's kind of stuck in there. I'm not really sure why. Yeah, you can see more of the plastic powdery stuff here where it was moving around on the shaft. It's all inside the middle of the blade there. You know, versus the regular household dust. There's a clear difference. So this must have been running like that for quite some time. I can't imagine somebody would run it while it's that noisy, but these people do crazy things. Pretty decent motor in there. Okay, that bit is not the right size. This, I think it just pulls off. I don't know. I don't see a screw. Actually, I don't see like a tab either. I don't know how that works. I don't think there's anything else holding the cabinet, or not the cabinet, the cover on here. Well, it certainly feels like there is. Not sure what it is though. Oh, I think I know now. There's another screw behind this switch. These are all machine threaded screws, which is nice. Nothing, well actually, these aren't, but the other few have been so far, which is nice. Okay, now this will come right out. Actually, no, it won't come right out. The wire is running all through this. Stupid design. There's several wires that go through the switch, and then there's this wire. I don't even know where that goes. It doesn't go into either side of the switch, it just runs through there. It looks like one of those wires goes into the winding, the other side's part of a lead. Okay. Here's part of it. As I often try to do with these, I'm going to try to uncrimp it and reuse it. It looks like this was maybe poorly soldered together. And now for the switch, I'm going to have to remove these wires here in order to get this out. So I'm going to insert a clip there to pull those out, and that should come out with these. Oh, actually I've got to take all of them off. Alright, I'm going to have to make a diagram here. At least these wires are all coming out relatively easily. Sometimes these are a pain in the rear to get out of these switches. Well, I spoke too soon. Now this one's not coming out. Okay. Okay, I screwed up my diagram. The black on here, for some reason I labeled that as going into the switch, but that's not true. That should be the blue. Okay. So, here's this stupid thing. We'll put this back on here for the moment. And now we're done with all that nonsense. It's got a GE logo in here. Actually, this should come off. It looks like it would just pop off here. There we go. This came with it for some reason. Now, there's the General Electric logo. Just kind of odd, I was not expecting to see that in there. Should be done with that. Okay. We'll remove the capacitor. And what else do we need to remove? Actually, I may not need it. Yeah. Technically, I don't think we necessarily had to remove that capacitor. I'm not sure yet. Okay, so now let's get the motor opened. Actually, before we do that, I have to tap this thing out of the shaft in order to be able to slide it off. And I have to clean the shaft too, so I'm going to have to wire this back up to run it. Oh wow, that's tight. It's not going to come out by itself. Stubborn thing. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to rewire to one of these speeds. Put this back on for safety, you know, because safety last. And Where's the switch? One. I guess that was 3, I don't know. Let's try red. Tired today, jeez. Oh, here we go with the wire nut freak show again. See if this one's gonna work. Okay, that wasn't too bad. That one worked. Alright. Okay, that's doing what I want it to do. So now I will take some oil. Not the fan oil, this is the non-fan oil. Put some on the shaft. And I'm going to turn it on. Zoom this in a little bit. And I'm just going to kind of polish the shaft with that oil. Alright, that's feeling pretty good. A little bit of rust there at the end. I don't want to chance it, I'll just sand it off. I'm not going to use the heavy sandpaper, we'll just use the light one. Okay. That should be good now. So we got, looks like we have 4 screws to undo. Uh-oh. I knew that was going too well. Don't strip. Oh, okay, good. So unnecessary for those to be that tight. Alright, now hopefully the bearings just slide right off here. Oh, the front is attached to the stand, so that means I will have to remove the oscillation mechanism because the back is going to come off first.
here another one? Yes, there is. Okay.
Okay, now what I don't like is that the wires will not, I don't think the whole thing will fit through there. So I'm going to remove this rear bearing contraption here. I'm going to have to use a lot of care because of the way the wires are going through it. I don't like that at all. That's good enough for us to clean it, so that's as far as I will take it. Let's see if this comes out. Beautiful. Now we're going to service the bearings. These sticker towels have become a commodity where I am. I suspect it's like this in most parts of the world by now with this stupid Corona freak show. These bearings are working pretty well, and I think this fan was relatively well made. You can see there's no grease that's entered onto the shaft. There is some on the gear itself, but not too much. Probably should add some more if I ever use this in oscillation mode. But the shaft is pretty clean, and we'll clean out the bearings here as well. Though really I think the addition of a couple drops of oil in and of itself would have been fine. Yeah, these bearings are very clean. A lot of people I've heard knock the Holmes fans, and I don't know why, because I find that the ones from this era, from the early 2000s, late 90s, even mid 2000s, late 2000s, were still pretty decent. You know, the build quality of this one is quite good. So I don't know what those people are complaining about. But anyways, we'll put this back together now. Actually, it's going to be easier to put it on the stand first. Okay, so we're gonna use there's two different kinds of oil that we could use here. We could use the blue can 3-in-1 specifically for fans. You can see it right there on the box. It says fans. or we could use zooming spout oil, and this is specifically for electric motors. So either one of these oils will work well and are proper in this situation. So I'm going to put a drop of solve oil into the bearing, and primarily I'm going to put it on the shaft whole length like that, and then we'll slide this through. It's going very easily, and you can see it's spinning very freely. So now we can put the stator back in place. I believe it goes like this. And I'm going to take a little bit of oil and put it on the bearing again. And then I'll put some on the shaft itself. I'm going to very carefully slide this on to avoid messing up the wires, and ideally to avoid getting any grease in that bearing, although it's nearly impossible because this wire situation is more important to pay attention to. Okay, looks like that's lined up now, all four corners. These screws are made of a very soft metal. That was foolish. Okay, so those are all about the same tightness. And it's a little stiff still, so I'm going to take a screwdriver and kind of strike the shaft a little bit, and that should free it up the rest of the way. Spin down time is pretty good now. Yeah, that's pretty good. That shall suffice. Okay, so now we can put the oscillating gearbox back on, the General Electric oscillating gearbox. Okay, that's the motor assembly. Sticky residue on the base, I have to clean that again. Let's plug this up and make sure it works. That oscillation gear sounds very dry. Let's see if I can put a couple drops of oil in there. Maybe make it a little bit happier. Yeah, all the oil is, or the grease is completely dried up in there. This is not the final solution, it needs grease, but just for now, this should be okay. It's better than nothing. Yeah, it's just as loud as it was. I'm not surprised, it needs grease in there. Anyways, I'll get some in there at another time. Okay, that's that for the motor. I'm going to dust up there, get that off, and now we are ready to put it back together. I don't necessarily see why this has to go through the housing. I think I'm just going to connect it and let it sit in here without passing through the housing, because it doesn't make any sense to force it through the housing for no reason. I may have to cut the end of this off. I think it got too fat to fit through here. Yeah, it's not going. Did that work? Oh yeah, that is working. Okay. Good. We don't have to cut it anymore. We'll just do that. And then we can recrimp it. And it should suffice. Okay. So now, this is the nuisance part. All these wires have to fit through the right side of the thing here. I'm thinking it may be easier to try to maybe pull them through with a tweezer. I remember doing this on one of those pedestal fans. It was really a nuisance. We need the blue one here, and then I think we needed, let's see, it's going to sit in there like this. Number 2 should be the brown one. and the blue one was number 3. The blue has to go through the top hole, and the brown wire's got to go through the bottom hole. Although I'm wondering if that's correct, because it doesn't seem to want to do that. That's definitely what the diagram says. Okay. And the line is up here at the top. And where is the red wire? Here we go. Alright, that wasn't too bad. So now it should be line, okay. It's gonna take a bit of convincing to get this to stay in there. Okay, there we go. And then number 1 is going to be red. Okay, that seems like it's correct, so we're going to go with that. Now I got to make sure the wires are out of the way when I screw in the back here. And this is going to be hard to line up because there is really no viewing angle available. This has to go in first. I don't know what is wrong with this thing, but it keeps binding up as soon as the motor housing is put back on. It's got something to do with the angle of this oscillation control. This housing does put a significant amount of pressure on it, and it's causing a problem which I cannot figure out. I've spent a significant amount of time reassembling and disassembling it, trying to figure out why that's happening, and I don't know. It's not horrible, but it's binding up much more than it should be. That's terrible for freshly cleaned and lubricated bearings. But I've only got so much time in the day to deal with this, and that time has been exceeded. So this will have to be marked as a revisit in the future, because this is all the time I have for this one today. So it works and it's clean. It's just not exactly as it should be, and that's kind of frustrating to me. Oh well. What I don't understand is it wasn't like this before. You know, the spin down time was better before. So I don't know. I don't know what happened. I mean, it's not terrible, but it's not good. You can hear something scraping inside the oscillation box. It's totally not right. And I'm not going to use it like this because I don't know what the problem is. You can even see it rolls back a bit. It's binding up so bad. It just did it there. I don't know what. I don't know. I'm baffled by that. So I can't figure that out right now. So I'm just going to close it back up, and then we'll do a final test so that we can see how it works. Very interested to see if it's going to move more air now. Although maybe it won't be, because this thinking something's binding up in there. It may not be running as fast as it should be. I don't know. Okay, let's test it out. Turn off on low. The blade, or blades, both, one, I don't know, is horrifically out of balance. I suspect it's oh wow, it's so much worse than it was before. I suspect what happened is both blades have a heavy point, and now it just happened to be the way that I put it on. The heavy points are at the same, positioning. Yeah, it still moves no air in the middle, but it's definitely moving more air than it was before. This is shaking so bad. You know, honestly, overall, the air movement is very disappointing. That blade is totally unusable the way it is. Yeah, the airflow is extremely disappointing. It's not at all, like, even average. It's below average. That's so bound up, it's ridiculous. Well, overall, the the servicing was a major fail, and I have no idea why. I have not been able to figure it out yet. I'll figure it out eventually, but today is not that day. So I'm going to have to revisit it to fix the binding issue, and we're going to have to revisit it to fix the balance, because the balance is awful. But it's clean now, and while the performance is terrible, it's an interesting piece nonetheless. And I'm glad I was able to find these. I remember seeing them years ago, and they always piqued my curiosity. But it was definitely a gimmick of a product.